About George Pataki's potential White House run has mounted since we learned last night that he will be heading to Iowa on Saturday to attend the Polk County Republican Party picnic and presidential forum. An event organizer says he expects a big announcement from Pataki, but the former governor will have to share the stage with several other already announced contenders. That includes two Texans, Governor Rick Perry and Congressman Ron Paul, who finished second in the Iowa straw poll earlier this month. Now, assuming that he does decide to take the plunge, Pataki is coming pretty late to this party, but his supporters insist that his record is strong enough to make up for lost time, and they also warn not to count Pataki out even if he is a Northeast moderate. Ryan Moses served as a special assistant to the governor, and he's now working at Capitol Public Strategies. And we also have Mike Elmendorf with us. He served as Director of Intergovernmental Affairs for Pataki. He's now the President and CEO of the Associated General Contractors of New York State. That's a long title.
Sure is.
And you are entitled to all of it.
Well, thanks. I used to have two, actually. I was also special assistant to the governor.
Oh, you were?
But Mike's was much more important.
So
I don't know about that. We were both very special, right?
This is like bringing the band back together. I've been in touch with a lot of Pataki guys.
Back in the New York groove.
Which was, I'm sorry,
theme song,
a theme song for
2002. Yeah.
Start Me Up in '98. Had to have the Stones.
Okay, all right. Before we even get to campaign theme songs, we don't know if the man is running again. So is he going to run?
I hope so. Look at what he did in New York and transformed New York when the governor was in office and when he left office. The highest credit rating New York had ever had, the lowest unemployment rate in a generation. I mean, I think fiscal issues are what matters. And this guy fixed New York State. I think he can fix it. So I hope he does.
Okay, but hold on. How much of that actually had to do with George Pataki? And, I mean, at the time, the national...
Think about '94, right, when the governor took office. The state was in a bad situation.
He took over from Mario Cuomo, just
oh,
saying.
I don't remember, but he took over... I'm just kidding. He took over from one former Governor Cuomo and did a great job at fixing the problems that the state had. Then we had 9/11, the unfortunate terrorist attack, and then he had to rebuild that economy again. So twice in a 10-year span, he fixed the economy. I think that's what Washington needs. I think he's the guy to do it.
Mike?
Just to digress, you know, Ryan used to be a Cuomo supporter. There's a very famous picture in our circle of him as a little boy being held by Mario Cuomo, and
I'm an Andrew Cuomo supporter.
I'm pretty much an Andrew Cuomo supporter now too, absolutely. So it's funny how times change.
Okay, well, before we get to 2016 and who might be running then, and you guys will both change your registration, of course. I know you'll be on
Pataki
Cuomo.
Cuomo, that already happened a couple times, and so if that happens again in 2016, I'm confident that Governor Pataki would win again. So I will say that.
Oh, okay, that's
Let's
good.
not get carried away.
Right.
Okay,
one step at a time.
First campaign. Yes. Do you really believe, in all seriousness, do you really believe that he's going to do this? Do you think he might do this?
I think he might do this. I know that he is seriously thinking about it, and I think he should. Like Ryan said, I think, you know, people get hung up on social issues. When I go around and talk to people, whether it's in New York or elsewhere, I don't see too many people at home who are sitting around at the kitchen table worrying about social issues. They're worried about the economy. They're worried about taxes. They're worried about the debt. They're worried about unemployment. These are real problems. You can argue about the other stuff, I think, when the economy is not at the edge of a cliff where we are right now. I think this is a time that calls for someone who's got experience in dealing with these issues, and I think the governor's got a great story to tell there.
Okay, but you were involved in 2006 when the governor was the Pataki. We should probably stop saying the governor because we're going to confuse people.
It's very confusing.
Once the governor, always the governor, really. They're still referring to Mario as the governor. And we were calling
rightfully
Hugh Carey.
Earn the title.
Hugh Carey, the governor, sure. It's a difficult job. You were involved in 2006 with the last time that George Pataki made a run, and almost made a run, decided to take a pass. He was on the ground in Iowa. He had staffers.
Absolutely.
He had staffers in New Hampshire. He doesn't have that right now. So, and we're talking about that was 06 for the 08. Now we're in 11 for 12.
Sure.
I mean, this is not just late. This is like a train that might have already left the station.
Well, I think there's a reason why he's thinking about it at this late stage of the game, and I think it's because if you look at the field out there, people are not, you know, running to one particular candidate. I mean, there's a boom for Rick Perry right now because he's new, but why? Because he was and is a successful governor of a large state that has a good story to tell, particularly on economic issues. I think, you know, there could be other people that could do that. It's late in the game, but you know what? This is a guy, George Pataki, who has made a great career out of being underestimated and counted out over and over and over again, starting from when he ran for mayor of Peekskill, and everybody said, you're a great guy, but you can't win. He did it when he ran for the Assembly. He did it when he ran for the state Senate. He certainly did it when he ran for governor. Heck, when I got asked to help on his campaign in 1994, I thought, well, I was in college at the time. I thought, I don't have anything else to do. I might as well help out. I don't think he's going to be able to win, because the only reason why I knew who he was because I had a dear friend that worked for him in the state Senate, and the rest is history. So It's certainly not going to be easy. I don't think running for president ever is, but why not?
And I don't think the governor would still be thinking about it right now if the candidates were talking about the issues
but
that
Ryan,
he
I
feels are
don't
important.
hear people. I read Politico did a very good story about how thinking conservatives are looking for a candidate, and they wanted Mitch Daniels, who I think that the governor probably would have said great things about.
Yep.
People like John Faso,
Sure.
who's sort of in the same line of thinking. Conservatives who think about fiscal issues, who think about policy, are not too concerned about social issues. I think E.J. McMahon would have said the same thing. Mitch Daniels, maybe Pawlenty. Huntsman is the only guy in the race right now who's along those lines, and you know what? Nobody's liking him.
But Huntsman compared to the governor, I mean, being the governor of Utah is compared to the governor of New York in a state where, the economic engine of really this country. I mean, you face a lot of different situations than you do as the governor of Utah. I think the governor of Pataki would come into this race and talk about issues that aren't being talked about right now. The field right now is who can go more right, who can who can go further to the right to try and appeal. And then guess what? When the general election comes, they're all going to have to come back to the middle. And meanwhile, this president, who has failed on the economy, will be allowed to shift to the middle, and it'll be really tough for the Republicans to back. You need to run somebody who's focused on fiscal issues. That's what the governor's thinking about. That's why he's thinking about it right now. I think the field is wide open. I don't feel like there's anybody that has the record that George Pataki has.
But I don't hear a clamoring for George Pataki either.
Well, because in part maybe because Liz, people didn't think this was a possibility.
Well,
now,
yeah, because he ruled it out.
Right.
He actually ruled it out.
But then I think when he went around the country on no American debt and started to talk to people and hear what the issues are, and then looked at the field, and you're right, Mitch Daniels backed out. That was one who was talking about these issues. The other folks, I mean, Pawlenty compared to George Pataki on fiscal issues wasn't even close. So I don't think that they felt that was their guy. I think they can rally around him.
Okay.
And something else on this too. When I was in the administration, I had the opportunity, and Ryan did this as well, to travel with the governor outside New York, and also I went often without him to meetings to represent the state. And the way he was perceived and received elsewhere, in a lot of cases, was very different to New York. When you're the governor for 12 years, everything basically lives or dies on your desk. You say yes or no. And every time you do, about give or take, half the people aren't happy with what you've done.
Sure.
And I think, it's a tough thing to be the governor. And so he was, in a lot of ways, better received elsewhere than he was here. The chattering class in New York is, I've been reading all the stuff, is, sort of dismissive of this.
Very.
I'm not sure that the reception that he's getting on the ground in some of these key places is quite the same.
Two things, very quickly. The first, money. The man needs to raise money. Barack Obama has been raising money hand over fist, and people say that they can't stand the guy.
George Pataki is one of the most prolific fundraisers that this country has ever seen. I mean, his race...
Against a sitting president, mind you.
Right. But against a sitting governor, a very popular, the liberal lion, they called him, in 1994.
Right.
And he raised enough money to be competitive and win, and has shown throughout the course of his time in elected politics that he can raise the money. The money, yes, the late in the game affects the money, but the fact that he can do it, and his message as one that's got money before, and I think could do it again.
Okay, and I just want to close with about another PatakiAide who is not with us. His name is Tom Madison. He is a compatriot of yours, of both of yours, actually.
Yeah.
Andrew Cuomo hired him. He exchanged Mike Fleischer, a former PatakiAide, for Tom Madison, a former PatakiAide at the Thruway Authority, executive director. You're quite pleased with this.
Absolutely. I mean, it's another great appointment by the governor. Governor Cuomo really has been doing an extraordinary job, and picking Tom Madison to lead the Thruway Authority, I don't think he could have made a better choice. You look at his experience in the industry when he was younger, he worked on a road crew. He was the DOT commissioner. He was the governor's transport. I think it's good experience. I mean, he's been on the ground. He understands the industry. He was the DOT commissioner for the state of New York. He was the federal highway administrator. I don't know how you could find somebody with a better background to do the job, and the fact that the governor is reaching across, the aisle to name the right person to the job, I think speaks volumes to his leadership.
Okay, so I'm going to, right now, start making up those buttons, Pataki Cuomo in 2016? Is that how you want to
They're going to run together? I mean,
I don't know. Two guys from New York, that's going to be a problem.
It's unconstitutional.
Somebody's going to have to
Can't
move
happen.
to the South
It'll be fun.
and change their enrollment or something. But anyway, I want to thank you guys very much. Ryan
Thanks,
Moses,
Liz.
thank you.
Thanks,
and
Liz.
Mike Elmendorf, thanks very much for being here.